Welcome to New Sky TV. The whole internet is buzzing. Has Wang Haozhen really fallen for Guo Yuxin? His expressions and eyes have already said it all. In the world of short dramas, there is no shortage of on-screen couples. Sweetness, ambiguity, tug-of-war, eye contact, it seems like a pre-written formula. But very few truly captivate audiences, making them rewatch repeatedly, ponder deeply, and even leave them speechless in the comments. Because the audience's eyes are the most honest, the difference between acted sweetness and unintentionally revealed affection is immediately apparent. In Meteor Shower, Wang Haozhen and Guo Yuxin belong to the latter category. On the surface, Meteor Shower is just a second collaboration between the two, with a familiar emotional storyline and no unprecedented character relationships. But strangely, from the official announcement to the release of behind-the-scenes footage, and then to the airing of the full series, the focus of discussion has subtly shifted. Audiences are no longer just focused on the plot, they've begun to repeatedly examine one question: has Wang Haozhen truly fallen for Guo Yuxin? The answer, perhaps, lies hidden in his eyes. Wang Haozhen's control over his facial expressions has always been restrained, a fact widely acknowledged in the industry. His acting never relies on exaggeration, his emotions are more subtly conveyed through his eyes. But precisely because of this, when he loses control, it's all the more striking. In Meteor Shower, his gaze towards Guo Yuxin contained a pause that shouldn't be part of acting. It wasn't a precise, measured eye contact, but a gaze that seemed to forget to look away. In several scenes, where the male lead was supposed to finish his lines and turn to leave, the camera caught Wang Haozhen lingering for an extra half-second. His gaze didn't immediately leave Guo Yuxin, as if confirming something, or perhaps reluctant to let go. At that moment, the emotion wasn't intense, but it was terrifyingly real. Even more intriguing is his off-screen persona. In leaked photos and behind-the-scenes footage, Wang Haozhen's attention to Guo Yuxin appears almost subconscious. When she speaks, he leans forward slightly. When she's down, his expression unconsciously tenses. When she smiles, the corners of his mouth always turn up earlier than the camera anticipates. These details, without director's prompts or dialogue, are frequently inaccurately captured by netizens. Some say this is a professional actor getting into character. But those who truly understand acting know that there are boundaries to getting into character, and crossing those boundaries often reveals genuine emotion. Especially in several interactions, Wang Haozhen's eyes clearly carry a protective instinct. It's not the possessiveness of the character's setup, but a very real concern, confirming her safety, fatigue, and well-being. This kind of gaze might be common in romance dramas, but it's hard to fake off-screen. Guo Yuxin's reaction is equally intriguing. She's not the type to flaunt her affections openly, she's more often quiet and rational. But it's precisely this restraint that makes her occasional moments of vulnerability when facing Wang Haozhen seem more real. She nods gently when he speaks and subconsciously slows her speech when he gets close. It's a closeness built on trust and familiarity, not a business-like sweetness. So, the question might not be, are they together? Rather, has Wang Haozhen unknowingly placed Guo Yuxin in the special position? Eyes don't lie, and expressions don't deceive. When someone is truly moved, what they lose control of first is never words, but their gaze. Perhaps at this moment, there are no answers yet. But what's certain is that the reason Meteor Garden is so captivating isn't just because the plot is sweet, but because in those moments captured on camera, we vaguely see the most authentic form of emotion, unassuming, quiet, yet enough to make your heart race. No wonder the entire internet is so abuzz. And because of this, more and more details are being unearthed and magnified by netizens. Looking back at the National Husband Takes You Home era, the two were still somewhat immature. The sweetness then was more like a spark enhanced by the characters, but even so, Wang Haozhen's loss of control on camera was already beginning to show. Especially the scene hailed as a meme by many, the feeding medicine with his mouth, could have been filmed with ambiguity yet restraint. However, when he approached Guo Yuxin, his gaze softened noticeably, and his movements were even gentler than the script required. At that moment, it didn't seem like he was performing a scene, it was more like he subconsciously tried to maintain the gentlest touch. Many viewers, upon rewatching, couldn't help but exclaim, that look was so real. It seemed so real, not like acting, but rather like his emotions had already crossed the line. And in Meteor Shower, This familiarity hadn't faded with time. Instead, it became even more pronounced in their second collaboration. At the opening ceremony, the two didn't deliberately try to be friendly, yet the camera consistently captured moments of them quietly approaching. While others exchanged pleasantries, they whispered among themselves. When others looked at the camera, they unconsciously exchanged glances, as if they had already formed some unspoken understanding. That feeling wasn't the polite formality of a new acquaintance, but rather, "I know what you're thinking." What truly made netizens restless was their demeanor during filming. On the set of Meteor Shower, Wang Haozhen practically accompanies Guo Yuxin as his tacit partner. Whether waiting for their scenes, rehearsing, or going over lines, he's always nearby. His attention is immediately drawn to her emotional fluctuations. Compared to his measured, polite distance in other works, he's noticeably more relaxed and engaged this time. This inseparable presence isn't deliberate clinginess, but a very natural closeness, as if he's become accustomed to her being in his sight, and instinctively searches for her when she's not. Even more intriguing is that his gaze off camera is often more candid than on screen. In the drama, it's the character's love; off camera, it's his own unconscious care. Some have noticed that whenever Guo Yuxin speaks, Wang Haozhen's expression automatically switches to attentive listening mode. Whenever she smiles, his emotions light up. This reaction, perhaps unconscious even to himself, is precisely the most genuine signal of attraction. Perhaps this is why viewers can't help but repeatedly compare his interactions with other actresses. It's not that his other co-stars aren't excellent, but rather that this favoritism is simply too obvious. The real difference lies not in the level of intimacy, but in whether he is willing to dedicate his attention to the same person consistently and stably over a long period. In Guo Yuxin's case, he clearly did just that. That's why so many people say that the most moving part of Meteor Garden isn't just the climax of the plot, but those moments not written into the script. Those seemingly unintentional approaches, pauses, and gazes, like shooting stars streaking across the night sky, brief yet dazzling, impossible to ignore. Perhaps they never gave any answers. But some emotions don't need to be spoken. When the eyes have already testified to the heartbeat, the audience will naturally understand. This tacit understanding goes far beyond a second collaboration. This is why countless fans familiar with Wang Haozhen completely broke down. Those who know him know that he has always been slow to warm up, shy, and even somewhat socially awkward. He rarely interacts with actresses, and even when appearing alongside male actors, he often stands quietly to the side, saying little but with a steady presence. Off camera, Wang Haozhen prefers to keep his emotions inside rather than expressing them verbally. But Guo Yuxin was the exception. In her presence, he seemed to let down his guard. That behind-the-scenes footage, repeatedly replayed, remains vividly in people's memories. The beach chair Guo Yuxin was sitting on originally belonged to Wang Haozhen. Without any hesitation, he turned and sat on the prop box, his posture casual yet without complaint, as if it were the most natural choice. What's even more poignant is the following detail: his hand remained on the back of the chair, seemingly nonchalant, but actually firmly stabilizing it, simply because he was worried the chair was unstable and she might accidentally fall. There were no reminders, no acting, and no camera angles. It was an almost instinctive protection. This thoughtfulness, understated yet incredibly powerful, stems from the subconscious, not rational calculation. Then look at the scene where the two rehearse their lines during a break. Sitting side by side, almost touching, Wang Haozhen's legs unconsciously brushed against Guo Yuxin's, without deliberate avoidance or sudden separation. It wasn't lack of tact, but a relaxed feeling of having become accustomed to the other's presence. True intimacy that doesn't cross boundaries never feels offensive, it only makes onlookers feel at ease. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.